we sure are having nice weather.
Oh, I know. It's absolutely beautiful across here. In fact, let's go ahead and look outside and take the shot that we've done 1,000 times. And right there, then froze up right as the seagulls pops in. Yeah, I love this picture, and boy, it just tells everything with the blue skies. A few wispy high clouds. A bit of fog out there is lurking here and there, but we have a mild offshore flow, which I'll explain in a moment. That should take care of the marine layer, maybe almost completely for Monday. And there are your highs today. Kind of a mix, though. Ventura, you got a bit cooler with a little sea breeze, and that was the story up and down. Look at Pismo Beach, the warm spot, one of them at 80 degrees, and that's because of a lack of sea breeze, a bit more of a north flow right there. In fact, the Central Coast might get the brunt of a bit of an offshore push for Monday. It's real quick, and I'll get to that in a second, but right now we're seeing a lot of 60s out there, a couple of 70s, and there's your wind out of the northwest. Absolutely really a great way to put a stamp on a great weekend as we're heading into spring fully, and it looks just absolutely beautiful out there. Dry skies, so more of a stronger onshore flow has sort of kicked out of the north more than northwest, so that's why you don't have as much moisture in the atmosphere, but some areas are getting enough that we might get some patchy fog overnight tonight. The satellite shows the story here, which is basically high pressure controlling much of the west coast. It's kind of a dirty ridge, though, so some clouds do get through across the area, and that north flow, again, last night was a bit stronger, so we had the north winds blowing through some of our passes and canyons. For now, though, we're expecting to see another turn in the wind overnight tonight, but mainly along the central coast, so that means a light offshore flow, especially the farther north you go in our area, and then warm on Monday. In fact, possibly the warmest day we've seen of 2025. And look at the big satellite here, and this is the story as we watch through about Tuesday or so, maybe even late Monday. High pressure will start to move out of the way, and then as it does, it opens the door and we see a stronger onshore flow with rain chances showing up possibly next weekend. Not really going to focus on it too hard because it looks very brief, not real strong, and then maybe again in about 10 days. That would put us into the first few days of April, so we'll watch that closely as far as rain chances. In the meantime, look at this. The cloud cover basically just blows out of here through Monday, but then it starts to come back again on Tuesday. We can see it a bit better with our patchy fog possible on Monday. Really not much in the way of fog, but then watch what happens on Tuesday. As we go into the morning hours, the winds will start to really slacken and then turn more onshore, and that's why we expect to see the fog coming back pretty quick on Tuesday. All right, there's your forecast as far as the wind, and watch this. If we go into the overnight and early morning hours, it's fairly quiet wind-wise, but then look at this right here, a little gusty, maybe even a wind advisory could pop into the mix. Right now there's not, and that would be for offshore flow winds, so that means, again, the central coast should get pretty warm on Monday especially, and it looks like all areas will. So here comes your forecast as far as our futurecast temperatures, and look at this. There's the Monday temps all the way into the 80s, maybe even all the way to the beaches. It looks like Morro Bay possibly a 67, and that would depend if the wind does sort of linger or sort of hover with maybe calm conditions. You'll get more of a sea influence. If you do get that push all the way to the beaches, though, you might actually get into the 80s right there in and around Los Osos and Morro Bay. By Tuesday, though, look, we switch it back the other way, and a lot of areas start to drop back into what is more normal conditions, which would be about 60s to about maybe mid-70s. All right, there's your forecast again for Monday, and boy, just about as nice as it gets, 70s to about 80 degrees. Again, once you go north and west of Point Conception, we're really expecting to see that offshore flow kick into gear overnight tonight into tomorrow, so look at all the 80s popping up. And again, if you get out by the coastline and say somewhere like Morro Bay, it could be a mix. You might see some 60s to about 70 or maybe even pushing 80 degrees, just depending on how much of that flow gets down to the beaches. It looks like that won't be the story for the Oxnard Plain, as Port Hueneme will stay around mid-70s, while the inland areas across that plain will be into the mid and upper 80s. Surf not going away. We do have some waves out there, mainly out of the northwest and some mixed in southern hemisphere energy. And there's your forecast. We'll bring it back down quickly by Wednesday and Thursday. The rain chances do pop into the mix as we head toward next weekend and possibly beyond that. But in the meantime, get ready for a really, really nice Monday.
All righty, and coming